was the kid that was always hustling for something. I actually got suspended 3 times for selling candy, drink, soda out of my locker. To be fair, I was making a couple $100 a week off of it. I may have not been paying attention to any of my classes whatsoever. I used the time to learn a different skill completely that helped me out way more in the real world when I got out of school.
Welcome to the Curious Corner, where we unravel the stories behind our guests through the lens of curiosity. In today's episode, I'm joined by Timofey Debkov, a young entrepreneur and content creator who also runs a small software development company. Timofey, welcome to the show. Could you please give a brief intro into who you are?
I see. Well, at a base level, right, I am absolutely nobody that you should care about, but at the exact same time, I've done a couple pretty cool things. Used to work for VFriends early on, and then now I'm just a content creator. Do some TikTok, some YouTube, do a bit of streaming on both those platforms as well as Twitch.
Nice. Okay, cool. All right, I want to go back to early days. So what were you like as a kid growing up?
Best way I can describe that is I was the kid that would not be able to wake up in the morning, somehow stumble out of bed, go to school, think about how I'm going to make $5 to get something tasty at lunch that day, and then proceed to either sell candy or do some other thing or make friends with the right people, if you know what I mean, the kids that always share the lunches. But, I was the kid that was always hustling for something. Always be the one that would get in trouble for selling candy at school, for selling drinks, soda. I actually got suspended 3 times for selling candy, drink, soda out of my locker. To be fair, I was making a couple $100 a week off of it. I may have not been paying attention to any of my classes whatsoever. Every single class that I would be in at school would not really interest me, so I would always do just enough. In my mind, I'm like, I've got better things to do. I'm going to go look up how to code. That's how I taught myself how to code really early on. I'm going to go look into how to start a business, and now I run a small software development company. All this stuff was I used the time that I would have been using to get that 100 in school to learn a different skill completely that helped me out way more in the real world when I got out of school, rather than what they were teaching at the time.
Why do you think, did you just hate school, or you just didn't see the value in learning something you just weren't naturally interested in?
I didn't hate school, but I hated the system that school was trying to use to teach me a certain topic. And so it'd be okay, let's say I'm going to 3rd grade math, right? But I was already on the computer and I already know 3rd grade math. I already did this. I've already been doing this, right? I've been teaching myself how to code, for God's sake. So it's not interesting.
I mean, yeah, it's great that you were very aware of your own abilities early on and just realized that it wasn't for you, basically. You obviously, you mentioned a lot about selling snacks, candy, drinks, whatever is on the field growing up in school. So I don't know, do you just feel you always kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit growing up? Or because there's a couple of people, from my experience, there was 1 or 2 people that were doing it to make an extra bit of money, but majority of kids don't do that.
Yeah, and here's the thing though, I wouldn't say it's entrepreneurial spirit. I would say it's a means to an end in a sense, right? Because I didn't want to be the kid that all of my friends always paid for when we went to McDonald's, right? Yeah, my parents couldn't afford me to give me $20 to go to McDonald's every week, right? With my friends or whatever. Okay, fine. But I'm going to go make it on my own. Because I want to go with my friends and I don't want to have my friends pay for me, right? Because I was always that kid where I was just standing there and they'd be like, what do you want? And I'm like, what do you mean, what do I want? I don't have any money. And it just made me feel a certain way. I appreciate the gesture, but damn, now I'm a charity case. I don't like being a charity case.
What stands out to you as a unique childhood experience that has shaped who you are today?
See, as a kid, I didn't really go anywhere. I didn't do very much. All I did was every single day after school, I'd get on a bike, go with my friends, and go down to the bayou, and we make forts. All right, I was that type of kid. I think literally it might be part of just that exact dividing line between internet kids, like fully online internet kids, and kids that still went outside and played. Like I don't see that with my little brother anymore. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. He just gets on his computer after school. Very interesting stuff.
It's funny, like we can joke about it now, but it is interesting, as you say, how that was your experience, and you mentioned your younger brother, but that's kind of same for most people nowadays. Like they're not necessarily encouraged to go outside, but what you're saying is that go outside, play with your friends, climb trees or whatever, like be adventurous, be curious, do whatever you want, and then you learn the hard way. Like if you suddenly hurt yourself or you get bruised or punched or like whatever, you're then, you're learning the hard way and you're learning to take hits. Whereas like nowadays, like, go home and go on the computer, suddenly you go out in the real world, you get punched or like threatened, and then all of a sudden it's like, now what do I do, Like I think there is something within that.
Yeah, those people that like, people will say, I don't think they've ever been punched in the face before. You know what I'm talking about? Like just the people with those types, like the attitudes, right?
Yeah.
You don't get that with a kid that went outside and played in the bayou.
Yeah, character building. I agree. And it's something that nowadays it's different, but I think there is something missing by not going outside and having those experiences. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, have you noticed like the social media landscape? Like the people that are now making social media, like are doing good on social media, they're not people that were raised on the internet. They're more like the overwhelming majority was people that did go out. There were kids that went out, played in the bayou, went out, played with some random construction sand out front of their house. It's not the kids that were early to the party and instantly on the computer after school or their iPad. They're like, it's none of the iPad kids, right? Because the iPad kids are learning to consume content. The kids going out there and playing on their own, they're being creative and they're learning how to create their own creative content because they have to be creative to make it fun, right?
Yeah.
Imagination. It's like a muscle. You gotta work. You gotta work out your imagination to actually use it later in life, so that you still have it later in life. If you don't have it, you just can't be creative. And you see that a lot nowadays.
I'd never thought of it in that way, but it kind of makes sense what you're saying of like using your imagination, because ultimately that leads to creativity.
No, imagination is creativity.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, think about it. To make up a random scenario in your head and then make your brain kind of believe it at least enough so that it would be fun to do. Like you're tricking your brain into having fun. That's like a superpower.
As a kid, you use your imagination a lot, and therefore you're probably like more creative. But then as you get older, more mature, you kind of lose that. Well, most people do.
You don't lose the creative part, but you will lose the ability to trick yourself into having fun when something isn't fun, right? But you can still be creative and like the way that your brain will work from that point on after you've been imaginative as a kid is going to be different than a kid who hasn't had to use their imagination. It's just been consuming other people's imagination. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Being able to make your own is something that's going to be super, super valuable. I mean, we're even seeing it right now. It's extremely valuable right now. You can make an entire career on TikTok and YouTube off of that.
Your Instagram bio has a quote: "The way you live your life determines your mindset, but your mindset determines your way of life. You can't change one without changing the other." Do you want to explain a bit more what you mean by that?
Pretty much, in essence, it's just like you can't change the direction of your life without changing your surroundings as a whole. But you can't change your surroundings as a whole without changing the direction of your life. So, it's kind of like a paradox, right? You've got to do at least one to start the process of the other. If you are always going to be stuck in that loop of just reading that quote over and over and over and over again, it looks hopeless. It looks like you're never going to get anywhere, right? Because it just keeps on looping on itself. You need one to do the other, but you don't have the other, so you can't do the one, right? But in reality, it's more of a get started on one, focus on that one, and the other one will happen. You'll be able to do the other one now. One might need the other, but you can always choose where you start, whether it be changing your surroundings first or changing your mindset first. You get to choose. There's choice in that quote, and I don't think a lot of quotes have choice in them.
You just have to make a choice. You either choose to change your surroundings and your environment and your routine, say, or you have to change your mindset. And if you work on your mindset first, at some point, it's then going to start to show up in your day-to-day living.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Yeah. But the main point is that you have the choice in any bad situation, right? And so you don't like your mindset, or like in the essence of that quote, it's either you don't like your mindset or you don't like your way of life. So choose one to get started in working on first. Instead of being overwhelmed, pick a point.
Yeah. I think it's very easy if you're in that situation to be overwhelmed. But yeah, I mean, I've had conversations in the past, but it's basically like breaking it down into something small and manageable, which you can just do it. Like, it can be like the smallest thing, but if that's kind of like the smallest domino that then gets you started and on that new direction you want to go, then start with that. In 2021, you said you previously had the mindset of someone's always trying to screw you over, someone's always trying to compete with you, take from you, have what you have, and take it. So, how has your mindset evolved since then?
Well,
maybe first, actually, you should give context as to why you feel like you have that mindset to begin with, because otherwise I feel like maybe give the listener some context as to why you're in that frame of mind.
Because everything is a competition, and everything felt like a competition, and everything was a competition. See, the thing is that in my mind, I haven't had the experience yet of going through that much competition before. But there's a difference between regular competition and like actually somebody going out, being out to get you. So now I understand that, everything that I have that, I felt back then, I mean, it's true in a way, but also false in a way. True in the way that everything is, no matter what you're doing. I mean, for example, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. No one's ever directly competing with another streamer or whatever it might be. But in all reality, you are. Every single little bit of attention that you are taking away from somebody that's using their phone, you're taking away a little bit of attention from another content creator, right? You're always competing for that. You're always trying to get the next big video, the next big thing, the next big whatever it might be, even if it's indirectly. No one's out to get you if somebody made a really, really good video. It's like back then, once again, didn't really have the experience to be like, yeah, this is what's going on. They just made a good video. It always felt like, oh, I couldn't do well enough, or I couldn't do something enough, when in reality it was just they might have done it a little better. And so then that led me down a mindset of like, oh, I'm doing everything I can, but if I suck at this anyways, why even try to pursue it in the first place, right? Instead of, let me use that energy to get a little better, even out the playing field. See, now that is how I feel, right? Let me put that energy into evening out that playing field. And I feel like doing content online has really helped that, because it's like you're going to get your couple views no matter what, just the way the algorithm works. But to take it a step further, to get those 10,000, to get the 20,000, 200,000, 300,000, you've got to take it a step further. You got to be just a little bit better than 70% of the other content creators. You got to add something in there that's just a little bit better. You're not out to get them. You're just doing it a little better.
Plus, also just when you're starting out, like, you've got to make your first 50, 100 videos to get your reps in, right? Like you have to, like you say, if you can be like 1% better each time, then you're always going to start from somewhere, but then you have to like make that 1% better effort each time, and then eventually it compounds. But no one's going to start off being great at something unless you're just like super talented and you're just like born with it.
Unless you're Beethoven.
Like, yeah.
Or Einstein, you know?
But for 99% of people, that's not the case. But yes. At the time of this recording, it's now been a year since you decided to fully pursue streaming/content creation. So give me like the good and bad of that experience, because everyone's always going to talk about like the good stuff, but like I also want the, the day when you're in the trenches and you're just like can't be asked to make a video.
It's kind of like the expectations that people have of you. In a lot of cases, when I'm streaming, I have a character in a certain sense, right? Acting a certain way, doing certain things in a certain way. I'm not just like chilling. I'm not just like sitting there and talking like I am right now in a less controlled scene, right? When I'm streaming, I am less relaxed, obviously, but I'm also looking at my chat. I'm reading chat and I'm interacting with chat, and I'm trying to kind of, go with the flow of what chat's doing, what chat's thinking, and instead of just like sitting back and doing my own thing. In a sense, you are playing a character, right? Like a lot of people, especially on my stream, will be like, "Oh, you're very sassy," and whatever else, right? When somebody like comes at me, and I have a comeback, and it's quick, right? That's just me. But the added theater of all of that is, it's like kind of like acting, right? I'm not going to be in the real world. I'm not going to have all this glamorous theater of, clapping back at somebody for them saying something to me, right? In most cases, I just ignore it. But on stream, you don't want to ignore it because it's entertaining. So you kind of start going for more of the entertainment side of things. And so you have a lot of people that will kind of build a parasocial relationship with you and get like attached to you. And they think that they know you when they really don't.
Because they only see one side of you.
Yes.
It's either when you're on stream side.
When you're on stream side, yeah. And then they expect that at all times, right? So you have a lot of people that will build a certain relationship with you in their minds, and then be super surprised when you like don't.
You act slightly out of character.
Not like slightly out of character, but like they're very surprised whenever like you don't reciprocate, the way that they expect you to act.
Got it. Do you find that difficult? Like, you're always having to pretend to be somebody not?
It's a lot more tiring. It's a lot more tiring, right? Because you're directly going for the interaction and the audience rather than just doing like speaking normally. Like even right now, right? I'm speaking normally, you're just talking whatever, right? I'm actually like, you'll never see me like laid back in my chair like this on stream.
Sure.
Never, right? Because when you're streaming, when you're like this close to this mic and you're like you're like talking to it, you're like, guys, welcome to the stream. How you guys doing today? The blah blah blah. Welcome back to the stream. How you doing? Yada 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 yada. Right?
But no, I get it. Like now I'm thinking about it more. It's like naturally, I had this thing in the past where in a previous job I kind of felt I was living two different lives, because there was like the day I'd go to work and I wouldn't enjoy it, and then I'd come back and I'd be like trying to figure out like a way out almost. But like naturally, like people in their day-to-day lives, they always kind of show different sides of their personality, whether they're in work or they're at the gym or they're just hanging with their friends or mates. Like people just are slightly different and like have a different side of their character they show. Like it's very rare that someone is just like 100% being truly them at all times. Like there's always like different sides, So I guess streaming's probably similar. What advice would you give to anyone listening who themselves wants to become a streamer/content creator?
Watch your sleep schedule. All right, my sleep schedule got really bad. I think I was waking up at like 6 or 7 p.m. at one point.
Wow.
Yeah, and then like streaming all night. It was bad.
Have you fixed it? Or are you still going through that process?
Going through the process. I woke up like 2 p.m. today. Yeah, I've got to switch it up, but I usually stream at night, right? So it's like, that's like kind of like my time slot. I'd also say really go for making content that is not only streaming, but also stays up on the internet after you're done streaming, because that's where you're going to get most of your fans and most like the people that actually stick around for streams is going to be through that long form content. Like, it's a lot easier to find an audience on TikTok, for streaming on TikTok, because it artificially pushes you because they're trying to like get their streaming platform up and running. I don't know how much longer that's going to last for, but it's still there. And you're going to get a minimum of 1,000 viewers, or people seeing you on the For You page per hour that you stream on TikTok, which is good. It's very good. Like, you don't get that on Twitch. But you also just need to be careful of all the weirdos, all the people that might try to mislead you, misguide you, try to scam you, right? There's a lot of creator scams out there. If someone tells you, oh, join this agency, we're going to pay you, it's probably too good to be true. And then try to focus on being yourself above anything else, because if you go down a path where you are pretending or being a character 100% of the time, you better hope and pray that that character, if it gets popular, is going to be something that you're comfortable doing for the long term. Because if you're not, then you're going to be stuck in a bubble of, oh, I now have to act a certain way and I don't want to do it anymore. And now but I have to, because otherwise if I don't, then I don't get as many views. A lot of creators get stuck in that bubble, and then a lot of creators get depressed.
Makes sense. And like say, like if you want it to be, if you want to be a full-time thing, then your persona of the way you are, the way you come across, and just the whole reason for doing it and starting it in the first place has to be sustainable. Because otherwise, like you say, you're going to burn out, you're going to crash, when you do go through a period of demotivated and not really wanting to do it, you got to stop.
Yeah. It's got to be tolerable enough for you to get through that, oh, I don't want to do this anymore.
Final question. What is the belief that you hold that most people disagree with you on?
Honestly, depending on your situation, it's okay to drop out of high school. I mean, if you have a plan and you want to execute on it, you have the means to execute on it, and you are able to support yourself if it fails, then it's okay to drop out of high school. Especially if you're not enjoying it, especially if it's not something that you are looking to pursue. Now, if you want to be an engineer, boy, you better stay in school. But if you're looking to do something else that doesn't require a much higher level of education overall.
That's fair. I would say though, like, to be in that position and to be in a similar position to where you were requires a very high level of self-awareness and confidence, which I feel like kids that age, like, obviously their parents is like, you have to stay in school and like their friends and teachers and everything as well. So
yeah, but there are also kids out there that are making $100,000 a year.
Like 100%, but like, yeah, the self-awareness and confidence you have to have in your own ability to be like, I know what I'm doing here and I'm going to make this happen. Like, it's definitely possible, 100%. It's just like, it's like not everyone is like that.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying, is that if you have the means and you have the ability and you know that you're able to get through it, and God forbid something goes wrong and you're able to get yourself out of that rut, and you know you're going to be able to do that, and you're in that position, it's okay. It's not like I'm going to be totally honest with you. I thought a high school diploma was going to mean a whole lot more when I got like into the job market.
Mm-hmm.
If any job ever asks you if you have a high school diploma and you tick yes, they're not even going to check. I'm just being totally honest. They don't.
I also I personally just believe nowadays more as well that you definitely shouldn't be defined by grades on a piece of paper or numbers or whatever it is nowadays. But I always feel like the way you act and what you do in your spare time is more a reflection on you as a person versus like a piece of paper. Like if you make content in your spare time and you're doing YouTube and you're doing TikTok and you're growing your audience and you're streaming and you're editing and you're making clips and you're building a community, that shows me a lot of skills and a lot of like, shows me a lot about you as a person versus like whatever grade you got in your test or your exam or whatever you done, you know?
You do also have to keep in mind though that, yeah, you can look at the external factors like that, but also you have to like keep a side part of yourself that knows, like for example, people see me creating content and doing stuff and like, you know, editing, filming it, creating the idea, going with, you know, there's a lot of process going through it, right? And they're like, oh, you know, that probably took a while. Dude's doing a lot. But what they don't see is the procrastination, I could be making 3 videos a week, but I'm only making 1 video a week, right? They don't see the laziness sometimes. They don't see God, I just can't even get started on this because I'm so overwhelmed on all the other shit I got to do, right? To get this one thing done. They don't see they just don't see all the struggle that comes with it, right? They don't see it looks easy, but it's not, right? But you would never know that because that's what content creators do most of the time. Even I do it, is that you make it look easy to do. But in reality, you get into content creation. It's one hell of a ride. It's a full-time job. It's more than a full-time job. Honestly, if you want to be successful at it, it's more than a full-time job, right? Especially if you're streaming and making content. You stream, 3-4 hours, or even some people will do 8 hours a day. And then on top of that, they're spending 3-4 hours on editing and, looking through their footage and trying to find clips and trying to get even more eyes on their content. So, it ends up being more than a regular job. Like, not more stress, not more in terms of like difficulty. I wouldn't say it's a overall difficult task as a whole to do content, but what is more difficult is just the amount of time that it takes, and then the knowledge that you need to have of people's attention spans to actually make something that people are going to enjoy, right? Without that, you could be the best editor in the world and not have anything, not even have one person watch a video. And that's when people get stuck, is that they'll spend all this time on a video and then it'll only get 100 views, and they're like, because I've had it happen to me too, 100 views. Bro, I spent so long in that shit. You mean 100 views. But you just got to realize that, hey, take the lesson learned, no more on that topic, or you just didn't engage with the audience enough in the first couple seconds of the video, right? Do it better next time.
100%.
But yeah, like I said, nobody really sees that because that's not something that's overall accepted in media or acceptable for content creators to show. Is how much goes into something.
I think it's just like applies to almost everything, but like in almost anything in life, whether it's like content, products, just a lot of things, people see tip of the iceberg and don't see all the layers and, all the steps and progress that it took to get to that point. They just see the final product. Whatever it is, like, they only see the final bit, they don't see everything that went in behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's true. Okay, we'll wrap things up there. But thank you for the conversation. Anyone listening, if you want to follow Timofey's journey, then all the links to his socials will be in the description. And thank you once again. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us, to leave a review, and to connect with us on our socials.